leaders and top businessmen. Now, it's not a matter of policy, it's personal. Hillary Clinton's emotional, sometimes angry contribution to a Senate committee hearing on Capitol Hill was her final appearance as US Secretary of State. She's been defending her handling of last September's attack in Benghazi when the US ambassador and 3 other diplomats were killed. Our Washington correspondent Matt Fry was there. Matt, tell us what you've been hearing.
Well, Kathy, the hearings are still going on all day, but the reason why they're being so closely watched is, of course, that Hillary Clinton, whether she denies it or not, is the most obvious Democrat to run for the White House in 2016. Listen.
The committee will come to order.
She's collected more air miles than any other Secretary of State, and she's just survived a blood clot. So this wasn't the ideal way to spend her last week on the job, preparing to be grilled over America's worst foreign debacle in years.
You've done such credit to this nation.
But the grilling was respectful. As a former senator, she's after all an ex-member of their club. And the public have grown to love her while she has grown her softer side.
I stood next to President Obama as the Marines carried those flag-draped caskets off the plane at Andrews. I put my arms around the mothers and fathers, the sisters and brothers, the sons and daughters, and the wives left alone to raise their children.
And so to the meat of the matter. Did the administration initially blame the killing of the ambassador and his colleagues on demonstrations that had got out of hand because they'd become complacent about al-Qaeda?
And we were misled that there were supposedly protests and then something sprang out of that, an assault sprang out of that.
With all due respect, the fact is we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make? It is our job to figure out what happened and do everything we can to prevent it from ever happening again, Senator.
The outburst gave Senator Flake from Arizona some extra time to Wikipedia which part of the world they were talking about. The Maghreb. That includes Libya and Algeria, and last week's troubling events, which she saw as a symptom of a messier Middle East.
When I was here 4 years ago testifying for my confirmation, I don't think anybody thought that Mubarak would be gone, Gaddafi would be gone, Ben Ali would be gone, that we would have such revolutionary change in this region. We now face a spreading jihadist threat. We have to recognize this is a global movement. We can kill leaders, but until we help establish strong democratic institutions, until we do a better job communicating our values and building relationships, we're going to be faced with this level of instability.
A dig at her boss, perhaps, that drones alone won't work. The one unspoken question at this hearing is, will she or won't she run for the White House? And could these hearings come to haunt her? We spoke to one Republican congressman who certainly hoped so.
I think for political reasons, they wanted to present the idea that the war on terror was over, or at least that we were winning it and that it was going to go away quickly. The reality is that that's a fantasy. We have dangers all over the world. We need to be vigilant in standing up to those dangers, and clearly they missed the ball here.
Do you think it'll also cast a shadow over her attempts, if they exist, to run for the White House in 4 years' time?
Clearly she's a formidable candidate. She's somebody who has a standing in American society that few can match. And if she runs, between Hillary and obviously her husband Bill, they would be a very formidable opponent. So you're hoping that she won't run? Well, as someone who hopes to see a Republican president in 4 years, yeah, I hope she won't run. I suspect she will.
And so do many of them. Senators also dreaming of life in a White House. Hillary Clinton soon without a job, but her eyes probably already on the next one.
Although she won't be Secretary of State next week, she's really at the top of her game at the moment. And you just can't imagine her putting on her slippers and going for retirement at this stage. One final and interesting footnote, by the way. We now know that some of the people captured by the Algerian authorities last week during that raid said that they, or claimed that they took part in the raid on the American consulate in Benghazi. That really does underpin Hillary Clinton, but also David Cameron's point from last week that the Maghreb region, which is so much closer to Europe than the caves of Afghanistan, is getting a lot more dangerous.
Matt Fry on Capitol Hill.